Content.
Yeah.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Yeah.
Design.
Yeah.
And he's got way more, man. Yeah. He's your one-stop shop. Trade shows, expos, videos.
Expos and trade shows and videos. Expos and trade shows and videos.
Hey, this is Nolen Davis, Extreme Marketing Podcast, our very first episode, and I want to welcome you if you own a business, if you're a director at your company, if you just are into marketing from SEO, video, trade shows. We got the #1 business coach in the world on this show, but we're going to start every episode with Bill. Bill, how are you today, sir?
Nolen, I couldn't be better being here on the maiden voyage.
Man, you know what? You came in from Connecticut. We were looking for the people that are #1 in trade shows, and your name come up. So anytime you Google the #1 trade show guy in the world, this guy comes up.
I hope that's true. I'll be glad just to show on the page, but I appreciate it. I've been doing it a while. You know, I ask people when I do trade show marketing training, I say, how many people in the room here, when the teacher asked them in first grade, what do you want to be when you grow up? How many of you raised your hand and said, I want to be in the trade show business?
Right.
We got firemen, we got teachers, we don't have too many lawyers then, but nobody says it. Everybody pretty much gets into this business by not knowing what it is. I came in through an ad agency. I've had other friends of mine that came in that were in construction. I've had people that come in who were just simply in sales. And then when you go to a party and your friends say, what do you do for a living? And you tell them, they all pretty much have a blank stare.
Right.
What is like the auto show? Well, yeah, but it's a lot more than. In fact, every industry has at least one, if not several shows.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into it, and some of the things that you've accomplished? Because we're starting every segment with you, and this segment is called Staging Your Brand, right? So, because literally trade shows stages the brand, the company, the service, the whole nine at an expo, at a trade show. And so that's the first segment of every extreme marketing podcast that we're going to do. So tell us a little bit about how you started.
And I like you're doing that too, because trade shows are somewhat of the poor stepchild of the marketing mix, right? Digital is everything, a broadcast, right? Whether it be audio or video broadcast. And of course, you got print. It's been around forever. What about this age-old, let's go down to the marketplace and see what everybody's laid down on the blanket, so to speak. I mean, that's really the origin of trade shows, technically, is the market, a common market in the center of the village where people went to trade. And here we are, 21st century, and it still has relevance. And I, again, got into it through the ad biz because my uncle, who had an ad agency, it was actually nepotism. How I got in. I was playing music, walking around, doing some recording, trying to quote make it. But when I needed to make some money, I would go in and freelance at my uncle's agency. But I was doing things like typesetting and paste ups and copywriting. And one time, after a hiatus of trying to do music, I went into my uncle's agency to work, and he said, hey, you're not going to do anything on the board today. What do you know about trade shows? I said,
Right.
And he said, I picked up a line of portable trade show displays. I'd love for you to sell them. I said, okay. And that was in 1983. It's 2023. If my math is correct, we're talking 40 years.
Yep.
And it's a business that if you get into it and you learn what it is, either you run away from it as soon as you learn what it is, or you can't get out of it and you just end up loving it. And I loved it, and I've been in it 40 years, and it's kind of what the journey was for me.
Right. So talk to me a little bit about, when we talk about trade shows, there's trade shows all over the world, right? And so, I'm from Chicago, so they have a lot of trade shows at the McCormick Place, and right. And so, they have these big exhibit halls all the time. But talk to us about some of the trade shows you've been to in other countries.
Yeah, I've been in Shanghai before they built their 5 million square foot facility, which at the time, 6 years ago or so, was the largest single venue in the world, eclipsing Germany. And certainly Vegas has been trying to somewhat keep up with them by expanding. And then in Guangzhou, they built a larger one. I think it was 5.2 or 5.3 million square feet. So I was at the original 1 million square foot facility.
Right.
And the most amazing thing there is just about everything is built from scratch. The carpenters, true carpenters, come in and they build a frame and they put wallboard up or they put other material up. They paint it, they light it, they wire it, and then at the end of the show, they just bulldoze it out the back door. And it's called build and burn.
Okay.
They do some of that in Europe, but again, we're a lot greener than we used to be. But in some of these halls, the system idea that we have here, where you have trade show modularity, where you will buy different pieces of aluminum sticks, we would call them, and then infill them with graphics, videos, skins, whatever. That's more of a European thing that, again, took off in America. But around the world, a lot of it was just building it and trashing it. So it's not a very green business. I was over in Amsterdam. They have a lot of builders there, but they also build a lot of it off-site and bring it in on a more custom level, more of a cabinet maker quality to it. Now, not that the Chinese workers, they did an amazing job. You go in 2 days before the show's ready to open, and they're all working. You're saying, this thing's not going to. Show opens, like almost every show, all that chaos goes away and it looks like it'd been there. It's incredible. But the common piece in all this is human beings being true to their nature, wanting to bring their brand face to face and interact with their customers, with the audience, with the media. It's a pleasant scrum of everyone that's involved in that industry. And that cross-pollination and that networking, all of that, you can't get that in the non-voodoo part of the marketing.
Right.
To the same degree. Now, we've tried it with multiple people on multiple screens. We've all had Zoom calls during the pandemic. There is nothing as tangible as human beings. Like you and I are sitting here, I can go, hey,
Right.
and
Right.
there you are.
Right.
On the screen, feels the same, no matter whose hand I'm patting.
So here's my thing. Right now, in the age that we live in, with everything being digital, I think there needs to be a crossover, and I think trade shows actually helps that. And here's what I mean. Digital, everything comes up on your phone, on your email, the whole nine. So when we're doing that, we really need to create an experience now. How do you stand out from someone else? And it's literally about creating that experience to now affiliate that experience with the brand to where the brand is more felt than just something on the screen from a screen time situation.
Trade shows bring in the concept of experiencing a brand, immersion within a brand. Additionally, it's not just trade shows. Trade shows are a subset of event marketing. Event marketing is a place where people get together live and something's going on, right? For example, a golf tournament. Companies do put up exhibits at the different areas at a golf tournament to promote their products. And that is a form of event marketing. It's not a trade show, but it is an event. And the same rules basically apply. You're meeting with a moving target, a fluid audience coming to and fro, and you're meeting with real human beings. And you need to have structure. You need to have branding. You need to have identity. And more so nowadays, you need to not just do that. You need to have something that they get involved. For example, if I'm at a golf tournament and somebody could have a simulator where I could attempt to make a shot on a simulator the same way that these pros are going to do later on in the day, that gives the attendee something where if he's holding on to a particular brand of iron or wood, he's getting immersed in the activity, not just observing it. It's that participation that connects synaptically and gives you that visceral connection with a brand. And that's so important now because so many brands are having a harder time differentiating on a visceral level through digital media.
Right.
It's just not the same. And there's so much that can be falsified. Digital media, far harder to be false or to do some smoke and mirrors when you've got something happening live in front of your face, the veritas, if you will,
Right.
of it really happening, as opposed to, gee, somebody's kind of making it look like it's happening, but there's no way for me to know,
Right.
is what trade shows, they can't hide behind that, right? And if you're working a trade show, if you're staffing with me and we're standing there on the aisle, we have no place to hide.
Right.
If I have my hands in my pockets, that's sending a brand message. If I'm talking to you and somebody's walking by and I should be engaging them, that's a brand message. So everything everyone that's staffing an exhibit does is a brand message. And if you walk through the halls and see what people are doing, often half of what they're doing is bad brand messaging. So it's a much more complicated thing. Also, you can't, like we do here, cut, we're going to roll it again.
Right.
Bill, try that again.
Right.
You can't do that. It's live. It's live. It's not live with a 7-second delay. Pure live, human beings, strangers, and people we know, all mixed in a building or outside, all walking together, interacting. If it's done well, and it's complicated, so it's hard to do well, it's very powerful. And that's why it's coming back from COVID. It was almost dead. I mean, just like entertainment and sports, live venue stuff was dead, and it's coming back.
Well, I'm glad it's coming back, and I'm glad to have you here to talk to us about all the elements, right? There's so many elements. Like as an attendee, you just walk through, think some people put up some mints and put up a what do you call it? Not a sheet, a table covering with their logo,
Drape
right,
or whatever, right?
and the drapes and all of those types of things, and you just think you just walk through. But to really maximize your return on investment, there's a lot that goes into it, and that's what this show is about. And that's why I have you here with your 40 years of experience. You know everything from training to logistics to how to schedule things. Like, it's so much pre-planning, the show itself, the post-marketing, is so many different aspects to it. And it's so many newer people that's taking over for people that's been in it for 20, 30 years, and they have no idea. And this could be a great place for them to start.
And the hiatus just made that shift happen even more completely. There's so many more new people in this business that they never in first grade raised their hand and said, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And here they are. And by the way, welcome if you're watching today.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I kind of went over briefly some of the things that we're going to learn, but you can dig down a little bit deeper into some of those elements. Talk to me about your 8 domains.
Yes, I've looked at the overall process of a trade show, of preparing for, researching for, coming up with a promotion for, designing for, staffing for, execution of the show, capturing the data you're there to capture, and then analyzing it in a model that I call the 8 domains of profitable trade show marketing. And the reason the word profitable is in there is because trade shows are very difficult to measure, but the measurement is getting better all the time. But what you're measuring is the activity that a company will take in those 8 areas. And what I want to do with your assistance here is to walk people through some of these main areas of all 8 of these domains that are going to allow us to see the complexity, but also the holistic power when somebody does it well, of how much more value they can be getting from a show. So that's really what this model, the 8 domains, is all about.
Okay. All right. So you hit on a part, and I'm trying to figure out if this is part of the 8 domains before we get out of here. How do people know if they're ready for a show and which show to go to?
Yeah, that to me takes place in what I call the first phase. It's the marketing phase.
Okay.
When people analyze what market is the show addressing, the audience, what audience are they bringing, right? Because there are 5 players, I call them, 5 units that create a trade show. And we're not talking about the people that build exhibits. We're talking really about how a trade show comes to be. You need a show organizer. A company, a publisher, an organization has to have a reason to have a show. For example, the Operating Room Nurses Show, right? AORN, American Operating Room Nurse Society. They have an organization, and they decided they need to have a show where they're going to have education, they're going to have people speaking in keynotes, they're going to also have a trade show floor where suppliers that are looking to sell to the operating room nurse population will be in attendance. So understanding that demographic that you're looking for, understanding not only the demographics, but the psychographics of your audience. What are the objective demographics? What are the age and, gender, spend, geography, all that. But also, what are their psychographics, the interests, attitudes, and opinions, their subjective characteristics? I worked with a company one time, and we had a promotion that involved racing trucks on a printed carpet. The carpet was printed like a race course, and it had signage around that was messaging. And the idea was to involve attendees and get 2 of them to race these semi-tractor trailer trucks around. Well, the demographic of the audience had been male. But over time, the demographic of the audience became female. And the people that were planning the race course were not thinking that from a psychographic and a demographic standpoint. And not to be sexist about it, but the percentage of women that want to race toy remote control trucks around a carpet compared to a male audience, it's significantly less.
Right.
But they will get that free Starbucks that was at the booth right next to the race course booth and spend time there, and they'll carry it with them and watch somebody else race.
Right.
So some did race, but it fell flat because that first step of analyzing who is my audience truly, and therefore what they came up with a great immersive activity. The demographic and the psychographic was wrong. So when a company's considering going to a show, these are the sort of things we like to work. People like myself like to work with these companies for if they haven't been before, because trade shows are not inexpensive. So when you go, you need to go with as much preparation as you can from professionals who can help you avoid what happened at that show.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we can give you help from that standpoint. So if you go to extrememarketingpodcast.com, if you have any questions, or if you would like for us to help you with your trade show, fill out a form, and then we go from there. Hey, Bill, I think this has been a great first show, just to kind of get the mindset of what they can expect. And we're going to dig down a little bit deeper on our next episode. Anything you want to say before you go?
What I'd like to say, Nolen, is I'm so glad people are here to watch, because if you're new or relatively new to trade shows, maybe your company isn't, but you are. And if that's the case, we want you to be able to hit the ground running. And because trade shows are complicated, we want to get into this in bite-sized pieces for you. So through your largesse here and creating this opportunity, people are going to be able, who are new, to be able to go in and really hit the ground running at shows and make that investment far more worthwhile. And veterans who've been out there as well, you're going to be able to learn additional content that you can add to your already considerable, armory of marketing techniques for doing face-to-face marketing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Bill, I want to thank you for being here, but I want you guys to stay tuned. Up next, we're going to be sitting with Charles Lewis. He's the SEO rapper, and I'm going to be talking about video marketing. So we'll be right back after this.
Exposing trade shows and videos.
All right, guys, final segment, EMP. I got one of the best coaches in the whole history of Action Coach. You've been like the number one coach for like the longest in the history of Action Coach, correct?
I've been around for about 14 years, and I've been up there in the top 1, 2 for about 10 years.
Right. So you know what? Some of the greatest players, some of the greatest people, Tony Robbins, all types of people talk about having a coach. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Doug Whitney. Doug, how are you, sir?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here, Nolen.
Man, you know what? You and I, we were talking, and you kind of came up with the name. I didn't even want to take, like, I have enough ideas that I don't have to take any of your ideas. And I said, we should call it this, right? And you said, why don't we just call it Extreme Marketing Podcast? And EMP was born at that time. You and I, we've been friends for a while. You've helped me from the launch of Vids Inc., my video production company. And I couldn't have done it without you. And that's a whole different story. So we're not going to go there. But every episode, right, your segment is going to help people implement something, even if it's an understanding of why they need to use marketing and how it affects the other aspects of their business, or literally do 1, 2, and 3, and this can help your business.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when we really focus on marketing. So, in my book, and I know we'll talk about that at some point, chapter 3 is titled The Secret.
Okay.
And The Secret is all about marketing. So love the podcast, love this opportunity to really help people understand and execute to generate crazy leads, because McDonald's wouldn't be McDonald's if they didn't have a good marketing machine.
That's a good thought process. Like, it's so many big companies like that we take for granted, that because we grew up just knowing them, we never think about the marketing that went into it because they're on every corner.
Yeah.
How did they get to every corner?
Right. Yeah. I was chatting with somebody at a networking event recently, and it was really crazy. Talking to this lady who's trying to teach this new business owner. He's got a wonderful little appliance repair business. And she was trying to tell him that marketing he shouldn't do. Don't pay for marketing. Don't go to networking. Only grow your business by referral. So I had to tell him a little later about, hey, by the way, I have this wonderful restaurant I want to tell you about. It's an amazing place. It's called McDonald's. And I had to give him the point that, wait a minute, it's not about referral. We don't refer people to McDonald's. Right? People go to McDonald's because their little kid says, I want a Happy Meal. The marketing gets people there. It's what people, it's not like, hey, it's the greatest restaurant in the world. No, and it's a consistent restaurant. It does great things. I've been to many foreign countries and I've wanted a McDonald's. And so it's really interesting helping people understand marketing is really is the secret to great business.
Okay. And you almost talked about this segment just then. Marketing is math. I think this is what we're talking about today.
Yes, today is about marketing as math. And so how about I give that?
Let's
teach that a bit.
Let's go.
All right. So first, homework assignment. All right. So I'm going to give lots of to-dos in these sessions. And this is what causes people to be successful. It's not just the learning. It's actually the action. One of the things I like to say is knowledge becomes valuable when you act on it. And so I know you've been really big on acting on things, thus all of these different wonderful businesses you have. And so first homework assignment is to determine how much dollars went out last 12 months. Use QuickBooks, yellow sheet of paper. How much money did you put out in business cards, website, networking, anything? This is just a dollar amount. Let's just say it's $1,000. And then divide by the number of leads you got in the year. And maybe you're not very good at tracking that. Maybe you just got to do the number of proposals you've done, or maybe the number of networking connections. Maybe it's the number of business cards you collected. Hopefully you added them to a database. But if you just divide the dollars out by the number of leads, you have a cost to acquire a lead. Now, it's it's probably the most important metric in a business, cost to acquire a lead. Because this has happened with quite a few of our clients, is that this cost to acquire lead actually is a low number. So a veterinarian clinic, less than $30 for them to get a lead. And that means a phone call. That means someone walked in the door, somebody set an appointment. And of course, with a very high percentage of those leads, buy something. And if you think about it, the last time you took your pet to a veterinarian clinic, how much did you pay? $100, $150,
200,
$300, right? Hopefully not too much. But still, if you think about the profit from that lead compared to the cost to the lead, it's a crazy number. So they average about 50% profit, as many businesses do. And so if that was a $30 investment to get the lead, or even in this case, cost to acquire a customer. Cost to acquire a customer is almost the same. So let's just say this case, it's $30 to acquire a customer, $100 of profit. How many more customers do you want to buy?
Right.
And so once that's done, the business owner starts to realize they're not putting enough money and attention to marketing. And so in all the cases where this has been quite this way, companies have just exploded. They really have gotten to not a lead generation problem, not a customer problem, but an operations problem. Like they don't have enough vets. They don't have enough people. They don't have enough rooms. They had to open up another location. They even built a franchise. And so once they start to understand marketing is just math, it's not magic, it's just math. And so getting people to do this over and over and over again is actually how businesses become amazing. McDonald's knows, Coca-Cola knows, Ford knows how much it costs to get a customer. They know how much it costs to get a lead. And so that's why we see the commercials. And it's really that simple. So if you can calculate the cost to acquire a lead, maybe even calculate the cost to acquire a customer, and then decide, do you put enough money in marketing?
Right.
The answer is probably no, I've not put enough money into marketing. Oh, and by the way, the math about growing by referrals only, and this is kind of sad, but true. It takes about 20 years to grow $1 million business just by through referral.
Oh, wow.
20 years.
I don't really have that type of time.
I don't want to wait 20 years to build $1 million business.
I want to be able to build the business and sell it before 20 years, right? So as you talk about it from a mathematical standpoint, right, that we're just looking at if we can narrow down the cost per customer that we acquire or per lead or however you want to put that, but we have to track and measure where those dollars are going and the biggest conversion rates and all of those types of things as well. You're just really just starting to scratch the surface of that mentality. But if you could figure out where you're getting the majority of your customers, right, and what's the best bang for your buck as far as you do it, now you can open up the floodgates and say, I want to spend all of that money, that all the money that I have to get as many customers as I can handle. Something to that degree, huh?
Yeah, for sure. The interesting thing is the first step, no one's done. Literally, I've talked to 300, 400 companies in the last decade. Not even one measured the first thing,
Right.
dollars out. Now, getting into more detail is where are the dollars going? So this is one of the most important things to be doing is to ask, where did you hear about me? So if somebody calls, ring, they call you, hey, this is VidZinc and, my name's Nolen, how can I help you? And they go, well, I really want to create a video production. I want to do something in the studio and things like that. You say, well, fantastic. And they say, well, how much is it? And you say, well, let's get to that in a minute. But first, let me get your name and let me get your number in case we get disconnected. And then, by the way, so we really understand where our marketing dollars should go, because we're a marketing company and you want marketing. Where'd you hear about us?
Right.
And they go, oh, well, I found you online, which is one of the most interesting answers nowadays. Found you online. Oh, that's amazing. How did you find me online? Did you just search video production company? What did you search for to find me? And hopefully they give you a better answer.
Right.
Because it could be your search engine, your website that's generated. It could be your pay-per-click advertising that generated. And really, probably, it's more likely they met you somewhere and they remembered VidZing.
Right.
And they searched that. So now they'll say it was an online, they found you online, but really you find out that it was, they searched for a VidZing. And you're like, okay, so how'd you hear about me? Where did you find me?
Right.
And then it might be through a referral or it might be through networking. The dollars you might have thought was all about online turned out to be, no, that was just the yellow pages, for some of you know, back in the day. And so it really was networking, business card, something else that lead source has got to be allocated to. So measurement is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, man, anything else you want to tell us before you go, Doug?
Start to think about, if you can do that homework item, this is another thing to be sure you're working on, is know how many people get to your website. How many people viewed you, and this is what I call the 5-pack. So another area of measurement, not many people are doing. If you've got a marketing company, they may be doing it, they may be giving you lots of stats that aren't very valuable. So here's the 5-pack. Number of visitors to your website in a month. The number of pages they viewed. Number of minutes they stayed on your site. Something called the bounce rate, which turns out to be the number of percentage that leave after the very first page they visited. And then the 5th one, the most important one, is how many leads did you get from it? So that 5-pack really is important, and you want to measure it every single month, compare it to the prior month, and compare it to the last year. This will allow you to know that your website's working, your SEO is working, your search engine optimization is getting better. Maybe your marketing company is generating leads for you and they're not actually measuring it well. Or they are measuring it well, but they give you so many statistics, you don't understand the 5-pack. So I try to get all of my clients to understand the 5-pack, measure it, record it, and then talk about it to whomever is that's managing that. So 2 homework assignments.
All right. Well, hey, we are trying to give you the biggest bang for your buck from an information standpoint, talking to people who actually do it. I want to thank Bill for coming out. I want to thank Chuck for coming out. I'm thanking you, Doug, for being here with me right now. And until next time, love to live to love, and be well.
Exposing trade shows and videos.
All right, so we're back. First tip on episode 1, what are we telling people for digital marketing?
Well, for digital marketing, right, a lot of people talk about SEO, search engine optimization.
Yes.
Right. And so before we get into some SEO tips, right, episode 1, we'll talk strictly about SEO as one vein of digital marketing, right?
Okay.
And we'll go through some tips on that. But I think it's important for people to understand the kind of generic concept of SEO, right?
Okay.
At the end of the day, stands for search engine optimization. And so we think search engine, you think any online engine where you can search, right? So this be Google, search engine, Bing, search engine, Yahoo, search engine, DuckDuckGo, search engine, YouTube, search engine, right? Facebook is a search engine, right? Because all of these places have a place where you can literally enter a search and get results. Right. And so that indeed is a search engine. So when we talk about search engine optimization, right, it's like, okay, what can we do to our website, to our profile, to our business so we can show up when people search, right? And so with that kind of summarization of search engine optimization, we'll talk about the website, because 83% of searches right now happen on Google, right? That's the fact. Mm-hmm. The other 15% go to Bing, and then the rest are kind of scattered, right? Now, and within that 83% of Google, that also includes YouTube searches. YouTube is now a Google platform, right? It's a Google property. And so with that being said, we'll focus on your website, right? Mm-hmm. Most people want to get found in a search. They want their website to be found. Whether you're a business owner or a church owner or restaurant owner, like whatever your business is, you want your website to be found. Right. So tip number 1 is introducing your website to Google, right? You want to make sure that Google knows your site is there. And so Google has a tool, what they call Search Console. Tip number 1, access Search Console, right? You want to set up Search Console because that is the place where you will claim ownership of your website to Google. you will submit your URL to Google. Anytime you add new website pages, you will do that there. Your website has what's called a sitemap. All of that will be there. If Google has any penalties for you, let's say your site is full of spam, and they feel like it's spammy and they're going to blacklist it, they're going to block it, that message is going to show up in Search Console. They're not going to email you. You're not going to get a text. Only way you will know that is if you have your Search Console set up, right? They have access to insights and data, like how many people actually searched for you and you showed up, right?
Right.
How many impressions? Every time your site is shown in the search results, it's called an impression. How many impressions did you get? What position was you on when you got this impression, right? Was you in position 3 on the first page, or was you in, position 100 on page 10, right? Where was your site positioned? And all this information is available for free, right? Within Google Search Console. And so step one, right? Step one, we won't dive deep, but step one is set up Google Search Console. You got your site pulled up, you have your domain name, do that first. So now Google knows you exist, right? You know they exist, and they have access to your site. And so it's in the index. You want to be in the index. And so you can't be in the index if you haven't submitted your site.
Got you.
That one will be set up Google Search Console.
Okay. All right. So that's like the foundational part.
Yeah.
Of what, like, you can't even do anything without doing that.
Well, because there's so much data that comes from that.
Right.
Right. And so that data is going to be necessary to take the future steps.
Okay.
Right. Like what type of content we want to add and how we want to market and competition and target audience and things like that. And so we need that initial baseline data just so we can make the right decisions later.
Right. Okay. All right. So is that the only tip for today?
No, we'll go through a couple of them. So another tip, once you have your site set up, right, and you've submitted it in Google Search Console, one of the main things for SEO, again, we're talking SEO.
Just SEO.
Yeah,
right.
Just SEO, search engine optimization. One of the most important factors that Google is looking for is your page site speed.
Okay.
Your website site speed. Yeah, how fast is your website, right? That's a very critical algorithmic factor in reference to your website being ranked, right? Long gone are the days of having a desktop version of your website that's kind of slow or looks this way, and then a mobile version like M. whatever your domain name is with this type of version, and then you got 2 different versions of your site with 2 different types of content, and they both probably don't even have the same speed. Now Google wants a more uniform effect. We're looking for one site. Should be responsive, meaning it's visible on all platforms, whether it's a desktop or a tablet or a mobile device.
Right.
And more importantly, it should load fast. It should load extremely fast. Fast like half a second fast, like 3 seconds. Like if it's slower than 3 seconds, they're probably not gonna rank you unless you're a big brand and you kind of own that market, then they have no choice but to show you. Right, but if you're a small business owner out here, you have some new site, and maybe you had took a professional photo shoot. Why do you think when we built your site, when we did NolenDavis.com,
right,
nice professional thing, took us some time to build it. You had to go do a whole photo shoot, high quality images, right? And so
extremely nice videos. I like that.
and dynamic videos, right?
Right.
And dynamic videos, high resolution type stuff. And it was like, okay, I had the challenge of optimizing this site, right? Knowing that all of these images could make the site slower, right? The point I'm getting to, all of these videos and content could make the site not load up as fast as we needed to for the sake of what you're trying to rank for, right? And so you take all of that in mind. And so what we did was we optimized the images, right? Back to SEO. Let's keep them sharp, but at the same time, reduce the file size as much as we can, right? And then continue to build the site out. So now when you go to Nolen Davis, it loads, you get the ND, bang, site zip, right? And that ND doesn't count against what Google is looking for, right? It's a preloader. It's when the site loads and then the content pops up. Now Google is counting, okay, how long does this section show up? How long does it take for this section to show up? That's 3 seconds? Yeah. Right. So, and you can test that. If you're looking at this right now, you want to test how fast your site is. Go to Google, search page speed insights. Page speed insights, Google will literally allow you to do it from the search results page. You search page speed insights, you'll get a bar come up where you can literally put your web address in and hit analyze, and it's going to run the test. And it'll tell you how fast your site is. It'll give you recommendations on what you should probably fix to make it faster. And it's usually theme-based, right? If you got a really complicated theme that has a bunch of code to make it work, then it's going to slow your site down.
These are all little bitty tips that a lot of people know nothing about that can make a big difference, right?
It's different.
And so I'm all about, people are always looking for the big thing that can make a difference. Like if I change my content, if I get better copy, if I get better, boom, I'm in there, right? But like you said, I personally have done a photo shoot. I have all types of videos that I need to put on. If I didn't have someone like you doing my site, we're now in the situation of I did everything that people are talking about.
Exactly.
I created the content. I got pictures. I have videos. I have all these things that everybody is saying, but I'm still not ranking, and it's in the devil is in the details, right?
You took those high quality images right from your digital camera, and so you got this 2200 by 4000 pixel image that's 10 megs.
Right. And look, and you're thinking it's gonna be worth the wait, right? You're just those pictures of me came out beautifully. It's worth the wait.
You pulled up a site and you just watch the screen load.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Google's like, this is a trash experience.
Right.
This not show this to my user.
Right.
Right? Even you may offer an amazing service.
Right.
But
It may be I have some amazing pictures on my site, Chuck. Right. So I'll be sitting here tapping somebody like, just wait a minute. I look beautiful here. He edited it the whole nine.
and so yeah, those are just those small things, because you're right. Right? It does take content. It does, and then those some of the other tips we'll get to, right? It takes all of that.
Right.
But if that content isn't accessible, right, in a timely fashion, then how useful is it really?
Right.
And that's the point Google is making. We're in a very time sensitive place, a very competitive industry, right? Because it's a website above yours and below yours in the search listing, right? And so the end user got multiple choice, and if they keep swiping, the options are endless. and Google does that on purpose. And I mentioned this earlier. I'll make this correction, and we'll go to one more point for this episode, right? I mentioned that you may be in position 3, like on page 1, or you may be in, position 100 on page 10.
Mm-hmm.
Google's algorithm has changed how the search results page is. Like, you won't see pages no more.
Right.
I don't care if you on a computer or your phone.
Okay.
You just swipe. It's just a never-ending scroll.
Right.
Never-ending scroll. If you're on a desktop, as you scroll, the page 2 will load, but you don't have to click to get there. You know what I'm saying? And each page looks the same. Set of sponsored ads. If this is the local search and map area, right?
Right.
Then your organic listings. And then when you swipe again, sponsored results.
Right.
3 more map listings. Some more organic listings. And so I've learned to kind of share with people, it's not really about being on page 1 no more. Right? It's not really about being, because there's no page 1 no more. And so it's not really about being on, top 15, top 20. It's just really about positioning. It's all about positioning. What's the best position I can be in? What does my description say? Because people are swiping. We're in a swipe environment now.
Right.
We're in a swipe environment now.
See, here's the thing too. That the old joke in your business used to be, where do you hide a dead body?
On page 2.
On page 2 of Google. They'll never find you, right? And so they removed that element to where now it's not pages, it's all about positioning.
It's all about positioning. It's all about, because you're swiping. And I'm pretty sure they've done the research to realize by doing that, people probably who wouldn't have went to page 4, probably page 5, page 6.
Right.
Because swiping is a natural habit in today.
Right.
It's a natural motion. It's a natural feeling, like, because it's a part of life. I don't care if you're on Facebook or IG. I don't care if you're on YouTube or you're reading a blog post. If you're on your phone, you swiping.
Right.
I don't care if you're playing a game or a solitaire or domino, you're swiping, right?
Right.
And so they made it so that's the natural motion when you're doing research on Google.
All right.
So yeah, no more pages, man. Positioning.
All right. So what song did you bring us today?
The song follows suit. It's called 10 Basic SEO Tips.
All right. So you gave us 3, and the song is gonna give us the other 7.
Yep.
All right. So anything you want to say before we go?
Man, SEO Rapper Podcast. If you want to hear a deep dive into those points, get a better explanation, check out the SEO Rapper Podcast at theseorapper.com. That's that.
All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna come back after we play the song. I'm gonna give you some video tips, and then we're gonna end with Doug Winnie. We'll be back after this.
Exposing trade shows and videos.
This video tip is something that I'm very well known for, and it's live streaming. I took Up Social Network and created a live streaming network of business owners, so much so that we actually broke a Guinness World Record. Now, not telling you that to brag, but just to show you that live streaming your events can be very impactful. Live streaming a product launch, live streaming a book signing. Live streaming gives you the opportunity to answer questions, talk to people in real time that may not get a chance to talk to you, and you can catch those people and answer those inquiries right there on the spot. You could take that live stream, download that video later, and chop it up into a video of saying, here's some of the things that we've done. So live streaming on any platform is definitely advantageous for your business. I want to thank Bill. I want to thank Doug. And again, I want to thank Chuck. If you haven't subscribed to Step Up Radio, subscribe to us on all platforms because it's all there. And you can go and check out other podcasts at stepupradio.net. I'm Nolen Davis, and until next time, love to live to love, and be well.
Thank you.